You already know more than you think. You just don't know how to read the signs yet. Because every person leaves clues. Their eyes, their silences, their laughter, their sudden change of tone. These are all fragments of truth, but most people never notice. What if you could? Nietzsche, one of history's sharpest psychological observers, left us 18 truths that cut through the masks people wear and expose what's really happening underneath. This video isn't a shallow list of tricks. It's a deep breakdown that moves step by step, each truth building on the last. If you skip ahead, you'll miss the depth. But if you stay until the end, you won't just understand others, you'll see yourself in ways you never expected.
Welcome to Matter of Time, your destination for real, unique, and eye-opening stories. From hidden truths to fascinating events, we bring you content that informs, inspires, and keeps you hooked. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments, because every story is better when we experience it together.
The mask everyone wears. From childhood, you're trained to believe in words. I'm fine. I don't care. I'm over it. But Nietzsche warned us, people don't speak from truth. They speak from survival. Words are the mask, not the person. A person who seems endlessly kind may not be kind at all. They may simply fear rejection. The one who seems confident may be terrified of being forgotten. And the most dangerous part? Most people don't even realize they're doing this. They aren't just hiding from you, they're hiding from themselves. Nietzsche once said, every profound spirit needs a mask. And he wasn't condemning people. He was warning us, don't confuse the mask with the soul.
Everyone wears a mask to survive. The first truth is universal. Every human being wears a mask. Not because they're fake, but because they're scared. Society punishes raw honesty, so people create versions of themselves, polished, acceptable, likable. But masks always slip. And the first crack you'll notice is tension. When someone stiffens at a question, when their tone sharpens, when they avoid eye contact, that's where the real person begins. If you want to read people, don't obsess over the mask. Watch for when it strains. What someone hates in others reveals what they hide in themselves. This is Nietzsche's most brutal insight, projection. A man who mocks arrogance is often deeply insecure about his own worth. A woman who constantly points out dishonesty is often hiding her own truth. We hate most in others what we cannot accept in ourselves. Criticism is rarely about the target, it's a confession. So when you're reading someone, don't just listen to what they admire. Pay closer attention to what they attack. That's where their shadow lives. Silence speaks louder than words. Nietzsche distrusted language. He believed truth leaks not in speech, but in silence. When someone pauses too long before answering, when they dodge certain topics, when they give short, mechanical replies to deep questions, the silence is louder than the words. Silence isn't emptiness, it's revelation. The things someone won't say are often more important than the things they do. Excessive virtue is disguised vanity. Have you ever met someone who constantly brags about being pure, moral, righteous, always correcting others, always preaching? Nietzsche called this the will to power in disguise. Because sometimes morality isn't about goodness, it's about superiority. The louder someone advertises their virtue, the more likely it's hiding a wound. Real goodness doesn't need applause. It simply exists. People don't lie to you first. They lie to themselves. This one changes everything. The lies you hear, "I'm fine," "I don't care," "I'm over it," aren't meant to deceive you. They're meant to deceive themselves. People rehearse these lines so often, they believe them. Nietzsche didn't see self-deception as evil. He saw it as survival. It's a way to keep functioning in a painful world. But the inconsistencies will always show, and if you learn to spot them, you'll see the truth hiding underneath.
Where someone feels superior, they're hiding inferiority. This is Nietzsche in his sharpest form. The person who brags endlessly about achievements is often terrified they aren't enough. The one who puts others down casually is usually afraid of being overlooked. Real confidence doesn't compete. It doesn't need to dominate. It just is. So when you see someone obsessed with proving their worth, look deeper. Behind the throne, there's often a frightened child wearing a crown. Fear, criticism, and performance. By now, you're beginning to notice a pattern. What people show on the surface is almost never the truth. The real story lives underneath: the tension, the silence, the overcompensation. Nietzsche believed the self is not fixed. It's a performance, constantly shifting to survive the world. But every performance eventually slips, and when it does, the truth comes rushing out. Most actions are driven by fear. Ask yourself, why does someone over-explain? Why do they dominate a conversation? Why do they disappear when things get too close? Why do they say yes when they mean no? Fear. Fear of rejection, fear of humiliation, fear of being abandoned, fear of being forgotten. Nietzsche saw that humans rarely act from pure desire. Most actions are survival strategies to avoid loss. So when you want to read someone, stop asking, "What do they want?" and start asking, "What are they afraid of losing?" That's where their truth lives. Constant criticism is projection. When someone can't stop tearing others down, listen closely. The man who mocks emotional people is terrified of his own feelings. The woman who belittles others for their looks is often at war with her reflection. Nietzsche's insight was sharp. Judgment is almost never about the other person. It's a mirror, reflecting the critic's own pain.
So when you hear repeated criticisms, don't be distracted by the target. Trace the line back to the speaker. Every insult is an unspoken confession. False confidence hides guilt. You've seen this before. The person who seems unshakably confident, always in control, always composed. But look closer. Their jaw tightens. They over-prepare. They get defensive under pressure. Nietzsche noticed this pattern especially in leaders, teachers, and preachers. They perform certainty because they're terrified of being exposed. Behind their strength lives guilt, regrets, failures, versions of themselves they can't forgive. Real peace doesn't perform. Real confidence doesn't need to prove. So when someone is too sure, don't be intimidated. Be curious. Exaggeration is a tell. Pay attention to extremes. When someone says, "I don't care what anyone thinks," it usually means they care deeply. When someone claims, "I'm always happy," It's often the opposite. Exaggeration is the ego shouting over doubt. Nietzsche believed that extremism isn't strength, it's imbalance. So the next time someone makes absolute statements, don't take them at face value. Read the insecurity hidden underneath. Exaggeration is volume. The question is, what are they trying to silence? The desire for control masks inner chaos. Why do some people obsess over controlling every detail, at work, in relationships, even in how others behave? It's not strength, it's fear. Nietzsche saw that people who crave external control usually feel internal chaos. Their world inside is fragile, so they micromanage the world outside. The stricter the outer shell, the more fragile the inner core. So instead of fearing the controlling person, recognize them for what they are, someone terrified of collapse the moment they let go. Performance reveals emptiness. Look around today. Social media makes this truth obvious. The endless posting, the perfect poses, the curated identities. Nietzsche would not have seen this as confidence. He would have seen it as desperation. The louder the performance, the emptier the core. When someone constantly demands attention, when every move screams, "Look at me," it's not strength, it's fear of invisibility. The person who truly knows themselves doesn't need applause. They don't need to be watched. They already feel whole. So when someone's life looks like a constant performance, remember, it's not a display of power, it's a quiet cry for love. Wounds, envy, and the soul revealed. You've already seen how masks form, how fear shapes behavior, and how performance reveals emptiness. But Nietzsche didn't stop there. He believed that behind every belief, every action, every mask is something even deeper, a wound. If you want to read anyone, you must go beneath the words, beneath the persona, down to the hidden pain that writes the script of their life.
No one speaks from logic. They speak from pain. We like to think people are rational, that they form opinions from facts, decisions from reason. Nietzsche laughed at this idea. He believed every argument, every worldview, every logical stance is rooted in an old wound. When someone says love isn't real, it's just a fantasy, that isn't logic, that's heartbreak. When someone insists you can't trust anyone, that isn't reason, that's betrayal. People don't build beliefs on facts. They build them on what hurt them, then justify it with logic. So when you want to read someone, don't just ask what they believe, ask what broke them. How someone reacts to weakness reveals their true power. Want to see someone's character? Don't watch how they treat the powerful. Watch how they treat the powerless. Nietzsche believed true strength is revealed not in domination, but in restraint. The person who mocks vulnerability is terrified of their own. The one who punishes mistakes was probably never allowed to make any. The one who always wins but leaves others bleeding is still at war with themselves. But the one who can sit with weakness without judgment, who forgives when they could punish, who offers kindness where cruelty would be easier, that's someone who has already won the inner war. The fear of being forgotten drives the hunger for attention. Some people demand the spotlight in every room, every story, every post. At first glance, it looks like confidence. Nietzsche saw through it. He believed that the hunger for attention is born from a deeper terror, the fear of being invisible, of being erased,
of living and dying without leaving a mark. The child who was ignored becomes the adult who cannot bear silence. So when you see someone who is too much, don't dismiss them. Ask what silence they're running from. Sometimes attention isn't vanity. It's a cry for existence. Attacks often hide envy. This may be Nietzsche's most uncomfortable truth. People don't always attack because they hate. They attack because they envy. Criticism is easier than admiration. To see someone free when you feel trapped, confident when you feel insecure, loved when you feel unseen, it hurts. And so people destroy what they secretly desire. That cruel remark about someone's success? It's often envy disguised as judgment. That gossip about someone's beauty? Envy disguised as disdain. Envy is just unspoken desire. The soul saying, I want that too, but I don't believe I can have it. See this clearly, and you'll never be fooled by hate again. Adults act out their childhood, not their beliefs. Nietzsche believed people don't really change, they repeat. The child who was silenced becomes the adult who never listens. The child punished for emotions becomes the adult who hides them. The child who had to earn love becomes the adult who performs endlessly for affection, even in toxic relationships. What we think of as personality is often just a childhood script running on repeat. So when you want to read someone, don't just ask, who are they now? Ask, who did they have to be to survive as a child? Behavior is biography. Behind every adult is a child still trying to feel safe. Patterns are confessions in disguise. This is Nietzsche's final and most powerful truth. People confess without realizing it. The person who disappears when things get close is saying, intimacy scares me. The person who overworks is saying, I'm terrified of stillness. The person who flirts with everyone but connects with no one is saying, I can't risk being seen. People may not put their pain into words, but they repeat it in patterns. And if you learn to read patterns, you can hear the truth before it's spoken. Seeing and being seen. Now step back. Look at all 18 truths together. Every mask, every criticism, every performance, every silence, it's not about deceit. It's about survival. People aren't hiding from you. They're hiding from themselves. And when you learn to read them, you stop judging. You stop taking things personally. You stop seeing enemies. You start seeing humans. Nietzsche didn't want you to use these truths to manipulate. He wanted you to awaken, to realize that the flaws you see in others live in you too. That the admiration you feel for others points to parts of yourself waiting to be born. Reading others is not just about them, it's about you. Because once you see the fear behind arrogance, the guilt behind confidence, the wound behind envy, you begin to recognize your own. And in that recognition, something shifts. Compassion replaces judgment. Understanding replaces frustration. And that is Nietzsche's real gift, not just to read others, but to finally see yourself.